You're live.
It
Okay.
says the stream is.
Faithful ride with me. Red and gold blooded to the day I DIE. Reppin' Niner gang and it's all I bleed. Racking up dubs in my Levi jeans. And we run over the league with our whole team. Be that number one seed cause we ballin'. Putting in that work early in the morning. Super Bowl team and now these haters salty.
It's working.
Hello, everyone.
Woo!
We are officially live now. We were live, but weren't live on the other stream. It was weird.
Hey.
But welcome to the East Coast Red and Gold podcast. I'm Niners Jess, along with Ty Alston, Maddie B, and your girl Bex. We are all here tonight. How are y'all doing?
Shoo, that was work.
We're good now. My
Yeah.
goodness.
What's happening?
What that?
According to our
HEO
tech
hockey sticks.
guru, we are live and on the air, so we're good. We're all
Thank you,
everything's
Jameson.
happening.
If
Jameson,
he gives
being
the
the
okay,
eyes of the
then we're
church.
good.
Yeah.
Producer.
Shout out to everybody in the chat. We got Dawn in here. Yes, that was very weird, Rob D. What's up, Jameson? Bang bang Niner gang. Let's see. I know I saw Carlo's comment. So what's up, Carlo? Go do your Aruba thing.
I know, right? He's probably
Um,
sipping on something nice,
what's up,
looking at
Callie?
us,
Hey, Colin.
laughing.
You know, even
Yeah.
with this delay, Brandon Ayuk still hasn't signed a deal. Like,
That was just our attempt to give him even more time. You know?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we delayed waiting on breaking news, and it didn't
like
work.
we went above and beyond on this one,
Yeah.
and they couldn't even capitulate that with something. So,
You know?
Yeah, it was,
all
definitely.
the things we do for them.
As I was saying in the other live that wasn't live, it's only 5:18 out there now. So technically we have until 3 a.m. our time and midnight their time, and I wouldn't be surprised if it came to that point, because a lot of times it definitely has. But yes, Brandon Ayuk was out there today. He was wearing red, as George Kittle noted. Yeah, they're going to show the Ayuk signing on Brick by Brick, which
Of course.
debuts tonight, I believe.
Yep. It's already out.
Yes. He did wear red today. All right. So starting with injuries, Ambry Thomas broke his forearm. He's out indefinitely. Kalia Davis, who this kind of got me because he was having such a great camp. He needs knee surgery and he will miss the season. Jacob Cowing is back. All-Pro Fred is back.
Kyle
And
said today, hold on, just a quick timeout. Kyle said today that Davis and Thomas are on the same timeline, so they're going to miss half the season and should come back. Did I read
Okay.
that right?
Yeah, I heard
Did I hear that
too.
right?
Half the season. Yeah.
Yep. He's going to miss the way it's set up now. It's going to miss half. So I guess both of them will both be. My guess is both of them will be designated to return. If they can make it. Provided they don't not make it back.
And
Wow,
what
you were
is
full of
going
insight
on with
tonight,
Ricky
sir.
Pearsall? Is he hurt?
Yeah,
again?
he's
They're-
I don't know. He wasn't out there. Danny Gray wasn't out there.
right. And Drake Jackson is done for the season, right?
Yes. Yep.
He's
Yeah.
another one that's just what is happening preseason with all these injuries.
Danny
Gray
Gray
knows
was
They
at
had to
practice
cancel
today,
joint
though.
practices.
They did cancel, right? Because we have like 23 guys that are
They don't
injured.
have enough bodies, and they don't want to risk anyone else getting injured.
Yeah.
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 Look at all the guys that have been signing too.
I mean, I don't, the whole joint practice thing. I don't know whether I'm for that. I mean, I know you go up against other guys like other than your own team, but you still play them in the game. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like it's,
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you guys think about the joint practices?
Kyle loves them. I know that for a fact. So
Yeah.
he was not.
I know
He was
that.
not excited to cancel those.
Yeah.
I know Belichick was a huge fan of that. And if you look at that entire tree, they liked it. And especially with the preseason games are a different beast now. Did you see what Gerard Mayo said today when it came to fighting? And one of the punishments was if you're a starter, you're going to play the entire preseason game. And if you're not a starter, you're not going to play at all in the preseason game. Like, but preseason games are specifically like, that's what they are for now. They are auditions for other players to like roll in, right? If you're going with like a pro wrestling reference here, like preseason games are NXT, and then the other ones are WWE, right? Like they have their own shows. It's kind of developmental. People are getting snaps. You know, they'll say that, hey, Patrick Mahomes is going to get a series here or there, or somebody will get a series. Some rookies will get series because they need snaps. But, you know, most of your 1, 2, 3 guys are all out, and then everybody else is playing. So it kind of tells you what they think of everybody and what everybody's already done. So I hated to see that because to me that is just yet another edge lost. And I feel like this team needs every edge it can get because, well, we've seen how things work for this team. And it's just another thing they're going to miss out on, right? So, I mean, at the end of the day, like, will it cause any problems? Probably not. But bad vibe summer continues, man. That's not a good vibe.
What do you think, Ty?
It's just you hate injuries. You hate to see them all, you know, especially this early. Like, we came into the game pretty banged up. Then we lose guys that, like a Kalia Davis, who we were hoping that, you know, we've been hopeful for him for 2 seasons now. And we were hoping, all right, this is the year. He's fully healthy. Let's see him get in there and do things. And he plays the game, and he's playing well. He's clearly the best defensive lineman out there. And then to hear he's injured, and you're like, it's a punch to the stomach. And all these other guys, it's like, geez. So they had to cancel joint practices because of that. Kyle loves them. I think it's good to get in work against other people to show where you really are, get you tuned up a little bit. Especially for like starters who don't play much in the preseason games. But they'll be okay come week 1. I just hate to see all these darn injuries right now. It's just, we know that's the number one thing that always holds us back, and it's starting off early. So it's a concern.
Well, Kyle did say that, you know, besides the obvious, like Ambry Thomas, Kalia Davis, Drake Jackson, a lot of these are like 2-3 weeks, you know, but we'll be back for week 1, you know, so it's not, I see what you're saying, Ty, like, yes, it is a concern, but at the same time, like, it could be worse.
It could be worse. They're not long like Kalia Davis, you know, many of them.
Right.
But we want to see these guys get in work so they're prepared more.
Right.
You know, that's all I'm saying. Yeah.
What do you think, Becca?
Yeah, I agree with Ty. I mean, I think the coaches are a fan of it because it, you know, you get veterans who maybe get complacent. You start to get into practices, or you have young rookies who are trying to make a name for themselves, and you put them up against another team, and they get to see different looks or get different, I don't know, you know, opponents as opposed to who you're going up against every day. And I think it helps them understand like where their strengths are, where their weaknesses are, and they get a different look about practice. I agree that, you know, the fact that we're already like so banged up and injured is like, what is happening already? It's not a good look. We're thin in some areas already. And to think that we're already walking into preseason banged up as we are, it's like, we better be really looking at who we're going to pick up and sign as free agents or whatever, because we got some thin spots.
Yeah.
Chosen Anderson is getting picked up off the street, then there is definitely some major like wide receiver depth issues, right? Like at the end of the day. I mean, the last time he was relevant was 2019. So
True.
say whatever you want.
But Brandon Ayuk signing would, kind of
Certainly
make that
sure
all
up
go
that
away.
position.
Hmm.
We got Jim Everett in the house.
What up?
Good, Jim Everett. I
Go
actually
Niners.
compared who did I compare? I compared somebody to Jim. Oh, I said that Sam Darnold has a potential to be a 1989 Jim Everett this year, based on everything that's been going on.
He's
got
the
yelled at
number
for
one
that.
guy in the Vikings right now. So there you go.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's him and Nick Mullins, baby. Let's go.
Yeah.
And Addison is out for them too.
Yep.
Yeah, he's gone. He's out to wherever. So
All right. So now, I don't know. This is something that everybody noticed, but I don't think there's anything to it. Clay Kubiak calling the plays on the sideline. It's the first time in 16 years that Kyle Shanahan has not called the plays. And Kyle said that he was a bit bored not doing so. Some people made a thing about it. I don't think there's anything to it. What do you guys think?
I don't think
Kyle
there's
can't
anything
make
to
a
it.
game.
Like,
Yeah, I was gonna say if Kyle can't make a game, don't we want someone who could maybe like I don't know call the plays, right?
fill
I
in
mean, we're
for
lucky
him.
that
Yeah.
yeah, like I'd kind of like to see that. So I don't think this is some sort of horrific idea. Isn't this what preseason is for? Kind of like what we were just talking about. Like, let's
Yeah.
get some guys some reps. So you're getting a play caller some reps. Geesh, we should get all fired up about. Was he in the stands though? Was he up in the booth or was he on the field? Because there's a huge difference with that, as you know.
Obviously.
There's that
Yeah.
controversy
Different
in
energy.
that too, right?
Exactly.
I think
That's
it's a
Go ahead.
nothing burger because I think, Kyle doesn't want to give up his hand on any plays he's got going in the cookbook for the season. So let somebody call the preseason stuff. It is what it is. It's probably old regurgitated things from days gone by, and it means nothing in the scheme of what he's got planned for the next season. So sure, fine, whatever. I'm not worried about it.
That was my take as well when I first heard it. And I was like, I can imagine him calling plays only for the starters the next two games and give it right back to Clay. Like, go ahead, take over.
Yeah.
Because they like to keep it vanilla and not show anything anyway.
Yep.
And with us having this target on our backs, right? He really doesn't want to give anything away. So it's like, yeah, you call the plays. Let some people try to figure out what's going on from that. I'm keeping all this stuff to myself.
The good is
Kenny,
right.
Mhm.
by the way, Kenny, I saw your comment. You're not wrong. They actually are going to have two DCs this year because you're going to have Staley and you're going to have Sorensen, right? Like, basically, like, even though one is technically the DC and the other is special assistant to, the Lord or whatever, like special defensive assistant, but like senior advisor. It's like having two defensive coordinators. You're not far off on that, Kenny.
Yeah, that was funny today. George Kittle was roasting the reporters for
Mhm.
their sneaker game. Ty, you were there.
Yeah.
Did anybody in person, did anybody stand out to you? Like any player, that, whether it's offensive line, defensive, anybody, did anyone stand out to you on Saturday?
Yeah, I mentioned Calais Davis. I thought he stood out. He flashed, right? You saw 93 out there. He looked good. Ronaldo Green looked good. He made a bunch of plays. He was around, and that's good to see from a rookie. Malik Mustafa, of course, was out there just hitting folk, thumping people. D. Winters was flashing. He was all over the field. He looked like a young sideline linebacker, a guy you wanted to see. On offense, offensive line, Pooney looked well. Like, he was a wall out there, just what we wanted him to be. He looked good. I thought Brandon Allen played actually well. People aren't talking about that because he's the backup, but it's important to have a backup that can play well. Yeah,
Yes, it
Chris
is, as
Conley.
we've
Yeah,
experienced.
We've learned
yeah,
the hard way.
yeah, exactly. Chris Conley showed some signs. I thought Jordan Mason ran hard, which we know he does. Behind the back, a makeshift, offensive line. So that was a good sign. Um, who else? Who else? Those were the main ones that stood out to me. They all flashed like live in person. Like, ooh, that 43, he's a player. Yeah, I know. So, yeah, I would point all those guys out.
Yeah, I think Dominic Pooney can start at right guard come week
It's
one.
trending that way. He's been practicing with the
Pooney
ones out there. Like, yeah.
Randy
I
Cross,
definitely like what I
Jesse
saw.
Sapolu, Dom Pooney. They're the same three guys.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing. Same versatility. He's going to be up and down that line. I bet before he's done, he plays at least 4 positions on that line. At least. Unless he's so good at they can't move him, but like we all know how the NFL works.
Yeah.
So dude just looks like a find. And then like Mustafa, like that's some Legion of Boomish sort of stuff right there. That's good stuff. That's really, really good stuff. Yeah, maybe a couple maybe next year, Bebop. I don't know what they're going to do at center moving forward. I can't imagine Brendel's going to be here next year. So let's see how it all goes. I see a bright future in Dom Pooney. I think they did a really good job in this draft. This is a very 1986 sort of draft. I don't know if they're going to have a bunch of Hall of Famers, but they're going to have some guys that are going to help them win.
Some solid players for sure. Yeah. Thanks
Malik
for watching,
Mustafa
Bebop.
be the next Ronnie Lott.
Ooh.
Why couldn't there's even if he's the next Dante Whitner,
I'll take that.
Thank you. Like I don't need to. Ronnie Lott folks don't understand how good Ronnie Lott really.
Yeah,
really
he was special.
Like I really need folks that are like younger than us to understand that Ronnie Lott was the meanest SOB there was on a football field after Dick Butkus retired. Like they talk about Mike Singletary in his eyes, and that's all great and stuff. But Ronnie Lott was just a BMF. It didn't matter if he played corner. It didn't matter if he played safety. It did not matter. And he was a BMF in that locker room, and he was a BMF everywhere. Like, you don't just come in and take over as a team leader, like, in a rookie year, and he basically did. So, like, that dude was one of a kind. Whew.
And let's not forget, Ronnie could play. We're talking about a Pro Bowler when the Pro Bowl was the Pro Bowl.
Yeah.
3 different positions. So corner, free safety, and strong safety. Like, he was no slouch on the field.
Shout out to the Jack Tatum was too. Ronnie Lott didn't Daryl Stingley anybody though, so that's why.
Yeah.
He was a little less mean in that aspect of it, right? Like, you know what I mean? I think Tatum showed some remorse later on, but he didn't. Some of those guys didn't care. They were just like, that's football. It's how it goes. Like, it's a bit rough. John Madden showed the caring in that scenario. Yeah. But shout out to the Seahawks for taking Kenny Easley instead of drafting Ronnie Lott as projected. Bill Walsh thanked them. I know that for a fact. So, because he put it in the thing. D. Winters looking good. I think he'll be another one that slides in. And that's good news too. Like straight up, D. Winters can play good. That means that we can ease Dre Greenlaw back in, right? Like
exactly. There's no rush.
Him back.
Yeah.
No rush.
Which is what you want. And D. Winters was a guy who flashed last preseason. We knew they would redshirt him, which they did. Time to make that second year jump. And Fred talked about him glowingly.
Yes.
And we're seeing it with our own eyes now. Like, okay, this could be something. Let's go.
If there's one guy,
I like me some D. Winters.
There's one guy that doesn't blow smoke about other players and their abilities. Like, I hope that when Fred Warner's done playing football, he's scouting or he replaces John Lynch, because this dude knows football players.
Yeah.
Have you ever, like, when he talks glowingly about someone, do they ever turn out to be a turd bag? Like, it never happens. Whether it's Purdy
Not a
or any of
turd
these, like,
bag.
it does. Like, he can spot them wherever you can be. Fred Warren be like, oh, that dude, blah, 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 blah. Like, he can find ballers, man. That dude, shout out to him. Like, he doesn't just, magically riz up a teammate, as the kids would say. Like, he's seriously, for real, like, that guy's good, and he's on it usually before anybody else is.
Tony wants to give a shout out to Pooney, Kingston, and Zakel.
I'm ready.
Mm.
Leon Sandcastle, winners is coming.
Oh wow! I can already see the AI generated photo image
Oh, yeah.
that will be showing up for that. That'll be great. Thank you, man. Appreciate you.
Tony says Niners possibly solidify the future of the interior of the offensive line.
Well, they need to, because they got to start thinking past Trent Williams, right? And no time like the present when Trent Williams isn't here to start thinking about that.
Yep.
No love for Drake Nugent. Yeah. All right. So, who was another one? Tatum Bethune. The linebacker.
Yeah, 48 was he did flash a bit. I forgot about him.
Yep.
48 did make some plays. Yeah.
But I actually, I don't know. I really like JP Mason.
Oh yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if he's number 2, although we said, last week how much Kyle likes Elijah Mitchell.
Right.
But Elijah Mitchell's another one that's not on the
doesn't like
field.
Elijah Mitchell.
That's
the problem.
that's the issue.
That's the problem.
That's the
right?
thing.
That's the
Elijah
issue.
Mitchell's body hates Elijah Mitchell, and that is the issue.
That is the biggest obstacle right there is his health, right?
Doesn't stop, man. Ugh.
No doubt. If he can stay healthy, who doesn't love Elijah Mitchell? But I mean,
He's the Tyrod Taylor of backup running backs. Like, as soon as he comes in, in a couple weeks, he's going to get hurt too.
yep.
Fragile
And then
backups.
Cody Schrader.
Yeah.
I thought he was kind of meh.
Yeah.
But then-
Didn't
All
really-
I heard was how great he was all off season, and where was that the other
I
night?
know.
Like, where's this
Where's
dude?
that in the game?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely non-existent. Who do you guys think our QB number 2 is going to be?
Oh, at this point, I'd say Brandon Allen.
Because he's been in the system.
Yeah. I mean, it's clear that he understood the assignments, where to go with the ball, things like that, stuff that Kyle likes, right? Get the ball out, just deliver it. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see if Josh Dobbs get a little bit more playing time next week. Josh Dobbs said he was comfortable, he felt good out there. It's just going through the process of learning his receivers and such. So he's dealing with that. But he made some plays out there as well. So we'll see. We'll see how this thing goes. But if I had to bet right now, I would say it's Kyle Allen as QB2.
It's Brandon Allen.
It's Brandon.
I don't know why I said Kyle. Brandon.
I thought you were making a Kyle Shanahan joke at first. I was like,
Because he's Kyle's guy. Like he seems like a Kyle
Brandon
guy.
Kyle
That's why.
Shanahan.
Yeah.
I was like,
Brandon.
Usually,
Yeah, 'cause-
the guy has issues with the special teams coordinator's name, but today it's Brandon Allen.
He's Brandon Schottenheimer, whatever his name is.
Our special team coordinator is Brian Schneider.
That guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Who
Yeah.
told the kickers, just go out there and do what you want to do, per my sources. And if you follow me
that's
on
what you-
social media, you know who my sources are.
Mhm.
All right. So, in sticking with the thumbnail, is today the day? Will BA stay or will he go? Is the drama over yet?
No.
It ain't over till he signs.
Yeah.
And even then, you still get
However-
2 weeks of fallout after that, right? It's going to be how this happened, how we got here,
Right.
what was
Right.
holding it up. Yeah,
What
What are
we
we
left
getting
this,
in
guys.
return?
However,
Yeah,
I
oh,
will
what were we?
say,
Yeah,
it is Wednesday, August 14th, and Brandon Ayuk is still a San Francisco 49er.
last week,
Yep.
August 8th. I can't remember what time in the morning it was. They said, he'll be a Pittsburgh Steeler by the end of the day. That hasn't happened yet. So, you really want to go
And-
there?
It could change day by day.
Yeah.
It's the weirdest thing.
I'm still on.
It doesn't
the-
matter. They can still. This still could happen. Like they can.
Yeah,
they,
this
you
is
know,
like
it
a
doesn't
trade
matter
deadline
whether the
thing.
NFL office is closed or not.
Yeah. I mean, I always felt he wasn't going anywhere. He was going to
agreeing.
stay. It's just a negotiation. These things take time, especially when we're talking about millions of dollars and players want to maximize it and everything else. This is what happens. So I feel he's still going to be here. They're just back at the table working it out. Ayuk to the Rams in your dreams. In Madden, pick up that Madden 25. You can make a trade. That's about it.
And Kali, I see your Jim Drunken Miller and raise you one Gio Carmazzi.
Timotei, baby.
I'm going down
Louisiana
the
Tech
Sean
legend.
Hill route.
No, you're taking Sean Hill.
Watch out now.
That's right. No one can slang it like Sean Hill.
Allen reminds me of like a higher functioning Brian Hoyer. Like that's what I see
Yeah.
there. He's going to be
Yeah.
just good enough so that you lose by a field goal in every game, and you ask the question of why in the hell can we not be any better?
Yeah, I could see that. Tony G says Ken Dorsey.
I didn't think that Matt Judon would be traded before Brandon Ayuk, but here we are, right? So like, and the kicker to that one to me is he was traded for a third round pick. I don't know, like, he probably
Yeah.
would have been a third round pick compensatory anyway. So I mean, like when people are wondering like what the 49ers want, like they're not getting a first rounder in all likelihood. Like look at that. A third rounder for a pass rusher that's coming off an injury, a little older, but there's no contract left after this year. This is a third rounder. Like you'd think that'd be like a fourth or a fifth or something. So, interesting. It's a weird market. Like the trade compensation in the NFL is always the weirdest thing to me. Atlanta.
Yeah.
It was down to the Bears and Falcons, and it went to the Falcons because they needed a defensive end because they decided not to draft one because they needed another quarterback after spending $130 million on a new quarterback. Please, every time we go through one of these, even though yes, it's Groundhog Day, yes, we have been perpetually in a negotiation with someone every off season since this whole thing started. Okay, but at the end of the day, we could be fans of that team, right? And look how it turned out for them. So,
Exactly.
Ray McLeod's their number 3 receiver, and it's unquestioned at this point, guys. Okay? Ray McLeod was the 7th receiver here. That's all I have for you. Like, that's what I got for that one. That's how deep this roster is. Like, we're first world problems right now, but man,
Yeah. Very
it's
true.
a long time.
So first world problems.
So, thanks, Tony, for tuning in.
Thanks.
Take it easy, Tony.
Tony!
Go Niners.
Shout out for having a job. We appreciate that.
Yeah. Don't work too hard. Be nice.
Yeah, right. You too. All right. So this whole BA thing, it's obviously been a mess. He, in my opinion, he has no leverage. but yet he was pretty much telling the 49ers like, oh, match what, the Steelers are want to give me and I'll stay. And it's like, and I think BA like needs some tough love at this point because
Yeah.
a little bit of a child. And like any fines that he will get or whatnot. I mean, I don't think they should be wiped away. I think you should by the Niners. I think you should pay them.
Yeah.
Maddie and I were saying backstage that for Trent, it's kind of like the domino effect. Like for Brandon Ayuk, for him to get extended, and then that'll free up some money for Trent Williams to get extended, and but that's my thoughts on it. I'm ready for it to be done, and I'm sure I speak for all of the faithful. I don't see him going to Pittsburgh. I see him staying. I think Beto said this in the chat that if he was going, he would have been gone already, which I agree. The Steelers are just waiting for that phone call from John Lynch to say, hey, it's a go. And then he's gone. But that hasn't happened. Jerry Rice alluded to the fact like, hey, tomorrow, meaning today, could be the day, that he stays or goes. So who knows at this point? I mean, we're all kind of in limbo, impatiently waiting. But what are you honest thoughts, guys, on this entire situation? I know we're all in agreement when we say that BA is going to stay. He's not going to Pittsburgh. But your thoughts. And Becca, I'm going to start with you.
I mean, I think it's long in the tooth, and I think everybody's tired of it. They put 2 trade deals in front of him, and he didn't want to go to cold weather places and places he knows he's not going to win. He has connections with Pittsburgh, and that was okay. You want to talk about Pittsburgh? Here you go. We have a deal there. You could stay here. Your Super Bowl window, your ability to win a ring exists in one place. Your cold weather phobia is not an option in one place. So I don't think if he goes to Pittsburgh, so be it. Go have a great time. Go enjoy your buddy system with your broskies and what have you, but you're not going to win. When we win, you're going to be salty AF that you're not on this team. And I think he sat there and read today because I think we know where he's leaning. And I've said all along, he's going to stay. He's going to play here. Worst case scenario, like we still have his last year. It's in everyone's best interest if he stays on this team. So I stand by that.
And you know what? The grass isn't always greener on the other side.
Exactly.
He can go to an 8-8 Steelers team that maybe won't make the playoffs, and he'll just be sitting home come January and February.
Exactly.
But it's not this Niners team. This window is open. You have a good rapport with a great quarterback in Brock Purdy.
And you're going to be utilized, and you're going to get used. You're not going to be behind George Pickens. You're going to be number 2 in Pittsburgh. You're not going to be number 1 in Pittsburgh. That's going to take a while to earn that spot. So here you're up there in the. We've proven that we can spread the ball around. We've got 5,000 yarders last season, did we not? People who had a significant contribution. So I think it's foolish of him to look at other places and think he's going to go make this amazing difference. He's going to have a great year. He's going to get paid, but you're exactly right. It's going to be on the couch in January or just when playoffs hit, and he's not going to be happy that he's not going places. So pick your poison, but do it soon because we're tired. We're tired of it.
Yeah, it has to end. Ty, go ahead.
Yeah. Side note, real quick, Terradome, Presley Harvin is my guy. That dude's a player. He had a hell of a game too, just coming off the street, punting. Had some great punts and had a great tackle when the return team just totally lost all containment and let the guy almost run free. He saved a touchdown. So shout out to Prez. Keep doing your thing, man. The Ayuk situation was handled all wrong on his end, in my opinion. I know everybody jumped out the gun and was like, why the 49ers wait? Why do they always do this? We're seeing now this is all from his end. This whole delay and everything is all on him. And he has no leverage, but the whole, oh, trade me. I'll go to this team. I'll go to that team. That's all him trying to squeeze out more money from the team, from the 49ers, as he has no leverage. And I commend the 49ers front office for playing along and doing all the things that he said he wanted and was like, okay, here's a trade from this team. What do you say? Well, here's a trade from this team. What do you say? Like they could have said, okay, New England, here you go. We accept that offer. Ayuk, see ya. Then what would have happened? Where would he be then? Up there with no quarterback? Like it's frustrating. And we talked about this shows back when how he was following the diva playbook. Well, not the diva playbook, but the standard like wide receiver playbook in the offseason. You unfollow the team from social media. You start posting your cryptic posts and all this stuff. It's like, oh, just come to the table, level-headed, and talk. That's all you needed to do. And this thing could have been resolved then. Like it's just a shame that it has taken this long, and I understand it's a negotiation, but I think these things could be quicker if these players get with their agents and say, hey, you're not just going to talk for me. I'm going to be included. I know the team. They know me. Let's all sit down and have this discussion like men. It's a business. Let's hammer it out and get it done. And it can be done a lot cleaner and sooner and simpler. So we're definitely all tired of it. Even people outside of the organization is tired of it. So let's just wrap it up already.
Ty, you used the word men, and I just want to say this about that choice of words. You're talking about young 20-somethings who really have zero life experience and zero skills and any of those things. So it's an emotional young person who's not used to living like, they haven't worked their whole lives to earn a paycheck. They're out here in a very different environment with this diva mindset. And it really is that he's, I know plenty of hardworking men who will never make this kind of money in their lives, who are superior intelligence, emotional intelligence, all of the things, right? So you are also dealing with emotional juveniles who aren't really, really men in the respect of that part of dealing with life and negotiating and navigating anything. For a commercial, for a day. He worked for one day and got recognized 19 times.
And he, like, he bought a house for his family, like his, they're out there. I mean, all the signs are just pointing to him staying.
Yeah.
He wanted to stay. I remember I went back to when he first spoke on Club Shay Shay, that podcast. And the one thing that stood out, he said, it's not about being the most paid and the stats and the numbers and all that. It's about the legacy. It's about who's playing in the playoffs, who's constantly competing for Super Bowls, who's that winning guy that you want. That's what I'm about. That's what I want to be a part of. Okay, that don't sound like Cleveland or Pittsburgh or Washington or any of these other teams that he's been talking about.
Or his attitude in negotiating, right?
Yeah,
If you want to
exactly.
you want to be that guy, you want to be a part of that. Yeah. Where's your emotional intelligence now?
Yeah.
But you would think that like his agent would have stepped in and said, you know what, cut the crap.
Well, that's what I mean about these agents. And we talked about this like last week and weeks prior, how
Yeah.
these agents, they get in the way. And you remember, he was doing all these antics beforehand until he got with his agent and said, hey, let's go meet with them. You and me, we're going to meet. I want to sit down. And he was there. Then all the social media shenanigans and all of that stopped because he had that one-on-one. He heard from them directly and not just through his agent. And I think a lot of these young players need to have that same attitude of, hey, we're going to speak together. Like, you can do the talking, but I'm going to listen so I can hear firsthand what's going on instead of you telling me indirectly. And there needs to be some type of mentorship with these young guys so they can be told these things like, hey, the agent works for you.
Exactly. You're paying them.
You can be in on the meetings. You can dictate what happens. Like, take control.
There's a line
Crazy
in
too.
the musical that says, I want to be in the room when the decisions are made.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy too because they have those mentorships available. Like when you show up, there's all sorts of stuff for the NFLPA that they can get. There's stuff that the 49ers themselves probably offer, right? Like,
Oh, yeah.
Or even the alumni stuff or whatever. So, and all I've heard all this time is Rob D just mentioned. I was saying this. The agent's the best friend with John Lynch. Like that actually to me makes it worse because neither one of them wants to look like they took advantage of the other one. So that actually makes it more of a pain in the ass, to be quite honest with you.
Yeah.
I think what gets me about this is if it all comes down to like $1 million or $1.5 million, like, was it really worth it? You know what I mean? Like, did they look at the performances of the guys that have previously had these issues and had these contract issues in the past going into the next year? You know, I keep hearing we got to go for it. This is the year. We got to go for it. This is the year. Well, if we got to go for it, this is the year. Why wasn't all this stuff buttoned up? Right? Shouldn't they have known? Like, I understand dragging this out, right? But I feel like this organization should have known. They should have known that ASB was going to get a new deal. They knew Justin Jefferson was going to get a new deal. They need to get this thing done before CD Lamb gets his deal done. Straight up.
They tried.
Because I'm telling you.
They tried.
And it.
Yeah, I've been trying.
But it's not. And they've been trying. I'm not saying that. But like, there was a race, and it was almost like they just. I don't know what info did they get sometimes, or are they just totally content with grinding these things out? And if they are, just say that so that we can be prepared for it every offseason. But they're so unbelievably patient that sometimes they may be missing things. Like, could they have gotten better offers before the draft if they had handled this sooner? What do you think?
I don't know.
I think so. You know,
So what
or
was
worst
happening
case,
on draft day, people was lowballing them too.
Oh yeah, and I'm sure there was a lot of that too. But there might have been like if they were actively, seriously at the time, people were like, "Yeah, the 49ers aren't trying to move it." It was like I kind of feel like they didn't treat the draft as like a soft deadline on anything. They were just like, eh. If that was the case, like it just. I don't know. It seemed like there wasn't a lot of urgency on their side for a little while, and I'm not really sure why. And if it was just a matter of fact that they said, we're going to do this or we're going to do this, and that was it, and so be it. But then, you know, why does BA say, you know, he felt like he was close at one point in May or like, it's all dumb at the end of the day. If you're just going to end up paying the guy, just pay him. Okay?
But Matt, to your point, is there anything to do with waiting for Eric Armstead money to come into the equation, or could they have made a deal prior to that? Like, I don't know how the money legally works in those deals. Where did we have to wait for Eric Armstead money to come back to us, or Could we have preemptively said, we'll make you this deal, but we can't sign it till then? And it doesn't work that way, because I don't know the whole money backdoor of that.
They had money available. In fact, I think right now, if you go on the salary cap website, they have the most available right now in the NFL based on what they've done so far this offseason.
They're like 50 million,
which they can then carry over. And they're going to have more once they sign Ayuk to a new deal. And they may have more with Trent Williams because his base salary might be replaced by a signing bonus this year or something guaranteed. So there may be some more getting added into that pot. But yeah, even with that was June 1st. June 1st is the cutoff date on that one. So it's like, it would have been about $15 million. But his contract goes down, so they wouldn't have, like, they could have framed it as such so that it didn't, like, they could have announced it in May and done whatever. But if he's changing his mind, right, over and over and over again, or he sees what somebody else gets and changes his mind about whatever, like, it can be tough to make a deal like that, because I wonder if this team is really like, okay, we're agreed on a deal, let's have Parag write it up, and then Parag goes to write it up, and he's like, oh, hey, he's fine, he needs this, right? Like, that's what it kind of felt like. So honestly, I think there's blame on both sides here. Like, I don't know if it's an equal amount. I'll let other people deal with that, but there really needs to be a better system in place. Like, you can't keep, to me, this wastes a prime year of a guy's career.
It really
Maybe
does.
not waste it, but it diminishes it, right?
Every season.
I mean, Deebo Samuel came in last offseason and said the previous year was gross, right? And if you talk to Nick Bosa and you probably give him some truth serum about last year, like, he'll probably tell you, like,
that's
definitely
his
not up
fault.
to the standard. And that's his fault, right? But, like, at the end of the day, like,
they don't put in
Deebo's
the
fault
work
too.
while they're being divas sitting on the sideline and not participating. They're behind
And
in
that's
the
the thing.
playbook and getting the reps and all of those things. It's partially their fault for holding out and doing what they're doing. And you're absolutely right. It's their fault too, because they're part of the equation.
They got to get those reps. You just cannot miss reps. Like, I look around the league right now and I see like a team like the Raiders with 5 quarterbacks in their room. What in the hell are you doing with 5 quarterbacks? Get somebody some reps, right? Gardner Minshew doesn't need reps. Aiden O'Connell needs reps, right? Remember when we went through this whole thing with Jimmy and like Trey Lance just needed reps, right? Like, you want these guys to come in and get reps, and if you're missing reps, you're missing a chance to get better. I don't care what the reasoning is. And people said last year, well, I'm not worried about Nick Bosa coming in and not being right. Nobody works harder in like doing things or whatever, right, in terms of workouts, allegedly, than those guys. And still wasn't able to kind of translate it like into the way that things going, right? Like, I know I grew up with Fred Dean coming in off the street and getting 3 sacks against the Cowboys, but like that stuff doesn't happen nowadays. Like, people got to lean into it, it seems. So I just hope that we are not going to relive this same thing with Brock Purdy. They can sign him to a new deal the day after the regular season ends. I pray that deal is signed the moment as soon as it's done. Hey, guess what? We got a thing tomorrow. There's a bye week, number 1 seed's clinched in the NFC, and we're gonna sign Brock Purdy this week. Done.
What if Brock doesn't want to sign that week?
Then we're screwed. Okay. But
Okay.
that's what I'm hoping.
Don't blame the
for. But
49ers then. Blame Brock. That's all
exactly.
I'm saying.
And I can blame Brock at that point too, right? And that's who it is. And if that's how it turns out to be, so be it. Then that would be a him thing. In this case, there's a little bit to go around. Like, I feel like they had it. Did he change his mind? Did they change their mind? Did somebody else do something else to drag it? Like, I can't wait for the fallout of this whole thing when basically the truth will come out, basically, whether it's within the first month or 6 months later, or when they make their Super Bowl run again and somebody has a long form story about it. I'll be really interested to see how this went.
In all honesty, I really like, as long as it gets done, I really don't care.
Yeah.
Because it's going to be the blame game. It's going to, because a lot of people are saying like, oh, it's the organization's fault. Then there's people saying, like, oh, it's BA's fault. Like, they're just going to play the blame game and stuff like that. Like, who cares? As long as it's done,
I'll be pointing fingers.
that's it. That's all that matters.
Some teams out there wouldn't have let him talk to other teams and make deals either. Like, let's go ahead and give them that credit.
Yeah.
To say, okay,
That's true.
like they basically let him be a restricted free agent, right? This is the same thing that a restricted free agent would do. He would go out, see the market, and come back in. And if anybody watched Hard Knocks, that's what the Giants did with Saquon Barkley. He was unrestricted, but they were like, "Hey, what's the number?" Oh, okay, and it turns out he was going to Philly, so oops, my bad. But in this case, he's on that 5th-year option, which pretty much worked like a restricted free agency deal. So he let his agent talk with teams, set up deals. That Cleveland deal would have been awesome, guys. Like,
Yeah.
Go get Dwight Clark's fur coat out of the museum and get it ready for the parade, is what I'm saying. Like, and I don't know, let Kittle wear it at the parade. That has to happen, by the way.
That would be awesome.
Make that happen. That would be the greatest thing.
Yeah, that would be great.
With some good kicks. But yeah, if that had happened, so be it.
Definitely got to get the shoe game right.
Yes.
Yep.
Did you guys see that Mike Garafolo said yesterday that the Niners and Ayuk have one more hurdle to get over for this to be done?
What's
I
the
wonder what
hurdle?
that hurdle is.
Yeah.
Probably years and guaranteed money. Like,
Oh yeah, it was speculation.
3
out there. It was the
years?
year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it 3 years or is it 4 years? Right. And however it's structured, how is it structured so that it shows this? And is there a dummy year at the end of it where we get stuck with a $6 million cap hit or not? At this point, it's probably just right there, and they're trying to figure out something on it. Like, at the end of the day, he might want an opt out in a couple of years too. Maybe he wants to hit the market again. Maybe he decides he wants to go somewhere else. Maybe he doesn't want to do this dance anymore or wants to go again. So
Kenny wants to know, did the salary cap make any difference? We didn't have teams winning 7 Super Bowls in 10 years or back-to-back and possible three-peats too often. We do now, though.
Made a huge difference. It made such a difference that the 49ers haven't won a Super Bowl since the cap was implemented, right? Since the first year. It's because it's so – think of how much different the league was because of the 2020 year and the adjustment that made to the cap and changed the amount of team building. Like, it cost this team DeForest Buckner. How much different does this defense look with DeForest Buckner on that defensive line, right? I think it makes a huge difference, It
makes a difference. It's harder to team build. You can't pay everybody.
Yeah.
Like, it's that simple. You can't go out and stack up. You have to be smart. You have to draft well. You got to implement guys and fit them in. So it makes a difference. I don't think that has to do anything with the 7 for 10 Super Bowls. If you're referring to the Patriots, they cheated. The three-peat thing, that's just upon us now. Like, in all these years, that this is just happening. And we don't know if they'll get there. They could come out this season and go 6-11 and don't even make the playoffs. So you're not even there yet. But it does make a difference in, team building and maintaining long-term success.
Kenny says the only difference he noticed is the MVP of the league wasn't the same as the MVP of the Super Bowl. If you look carefully, that's the only difference. Hey, Sin.
Yeah, I mean, you could look at it a bunch of different ways. Look at the Rams. I mean, the Rams, I'm sure, wouldn't give up their Super Bowl, right?
Yeah.
But are they in some sort of good future? I mean, Puka Nacua is great, but, do you think Stetson Bennett's the next quarterback there? Probably not. They'll probably be able to get a guy.
It's James Richard.
So.
Didn't you
Okay,
see?
so anyways, we're talking about youngsters for the future, okay? Youngsters for the future.
Guys, I'm sure you noticed the QR code to the left of Ty.
That one.
Hey, he pointed at it
Donate
perfectly.
to
Well done.
the Golden Heart Fund. Yeah, that was good, Ty. I'm glad you kind of read,
Very good.
you know, it was,
Mhm.
yeah,
I'm
it
vibing
was
with you.
good.
We here. We
No
here.
Yeah.
hesitation. He was like, bap.
Mhm.
Yeah, go donate to the Golden Heart Fund. Every little bit helps. Um, Rob D wants to know what's up with Trent Williams. He'd feel better if he was at least on the sidelines too. Yeah, I wish that Trent Williams was there, as do I'm sure all of the faithful. I feel like Trent Williams at this point is a little bit more important
More
than
important.
Brandon Ayuk,
Yeah.
for sure. And but unfortunately, the way I see it is we got to get BA done to open some up for Trent Williams. Maybe. I don't know. It's my opinion. But do you guys think that Trent Williams is more important than BA?
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
We did that little exercise that you put
Yeah.
together last week,
Yep.
and it was
It's true.
unanimous that
Yeah.
it's Trent over BA. So they'll get him in there.
I think we have money. Like we have the most, right? We're up there in the
Yeah.
most money. So there's no reason why we couldn't be already like working
Yeah.
something out with him, whether the BA
gotta-
deal happens today, tomorrow, or 3 weeks from now. Trent should be a priority and should be getting done. And I hope that that's exactly what's happening in the silence, that there's no showboating, there's no big flashy protest or unfollowing nonsense, childish behavior. Trent's just like, I'm not going out there and risking an injury in preseason or practice until I have a deal. So let's get some on the table. Let's get it done, and I'll get out there and work. That's what I hope is happening.
As far as camp fines and each preseason game he misses, I believe he's up to $650,000 already. Yeah, he needs to get in there. And, it's funny because Mooney Ward and George Kittle were interviewed today, and Mooney was asked about BA, and he was like, well, we haven't played a game yet. And I'm paraphrasing here, this isn't word for word, but we haven't played a game yet. I don't know if the offense really misses him right now. Kittle was asked about Trent Williams, and Kittle pretty much said, yeah, it is weird that he's not here. Because Kittle going up against Jalen Moore and, and stuff like that.
He plays alongside those guys. So it's different, when he goes to the left side of the line.
Right.
Yeah. He's used to seeing Trent there. Yeah.
Yeah. His reps are diminished because he's not going up against the marquee guy too. So his camp is diminished because the best guy in the league isn't there against him, or he's not, trying to face off with these guys and block. So I do think it affects all of the players when these guys are holding out. They don't get to go up against the best of the best. I mean, we've got one of the best teams in the league. So when you get to play against your own guys and they're not there, it affects your ability to raise your level of play and get your, learn the plays, learn the playbook. I think it's detrimental all the way around. And I hope that Trent Williams holding out isn't a long-term thing either. Like, let's get it done quickly, because we need all these guys on the field, getting the reps, getting the plays, learning the playbook. Otherwise, the season is already, I feel like, stacked against us with all of the teams we're playing coming off their bye weeks in the schedule already. I hate to see these kinds of things last. It's never good.
Yeah, no, you're right, Becca. It definitely is never good. So Terradome wants to know, did we see Jimmy G been taking shots at the Patriots, 49ers, and Raiders? No, I haven't. I haven't really.
Who?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I saw his one quote that they allow me to be who I want to be here or something like that.
Oh yeah, I saw that too. That
Yes.
kind of came
Yeah.
across my timeline.
Yeah.
But other than that,
I get to
I
be
didn't read-
myself.
I didn't read into it because, you know, we've seen what he can do on the field, and that's the bottom line. Like, we saw it, we were frustrated by it. That's why we were all excited about the 2021 draft, not because of the player, the specific player, but because we knew we would get someone different who can just do some things on the field that he couldn't or wouldn't. That's what everyone was excited about. And we've seen how he's moved on. He's going to a different team. And that team became frustrated by the things that he couldn't or wouldn't do on the field. I mean, we've all seen the receiver program, and Devontae Adams was losing his mind out there. Like, we all saw that one play where Devontae was wide open and Jimmy threw it out of bounds. We've been there.
Check down.
We've been there.
His ceiling is below our ears, so whatever he has to say, we're not hearing it. So whatever.
Yeah, we've been there.
He'll have a great
Now-
life. We saw.
Now
what he
he's on
did.
another team. Yeah. So let him be happy there.
Guys do this after they leave teams. They say that whoever the new person is, like, let them be themselves, right? Like, that's just
Mhm.
how it works. Like, let them vent about whatever they want to vent about, and if they want to talk about it later, they'll talk about it later, right?
Rob D.
all right, guys, let's go to that hurry up offense in the 2-minute warning.
Oh, caught me off guard.
I know. I'm
So
like,
you don't have
I'm
enough time?
not prepared. I don't have anything.
Okay, I found it. Here we go. Bingo.
Maddie, you're up.
Patrick Willis will be honored at the Arizona home game. I don't know about you, but I would prefer that you got those tickets for me so that I can support the Golden Heart Fund, which was previously above Ty's shoulder, but has now been replaced by a clock. So NinersNE.com, and you can get your tickets for that game. Okay? Or some of the stuff, not the Jets one, but the games after that, yeah, totally in there too. So support them, support Kenny for Jameson, and support the 49ers. And keep visiting people out of those seats. Yeah.
All right, Becca.
I mean, come on, BA, just make it go away. Let's get it done. Get in there, start learning the playbook. You're already miles behind because we know how this goes. Going to be a terrible season for him. Let's hope not. But yes, continued shout outs to my man Patrick. I don't know what side his logo is on. But that's a game I'm going to try and get to now that I know he's getting honored at that game. So yeah, I have nothing else. I didn't really look at anything, but go Niners. Let's get it going.
Okay, Ty.
Yeah. In 2021, Fred Warner signed his contract extension in mid-July. He had a phenomenal season. Why? Because he wasn't at home eating Cheetos. He worked his butt off and then came into camp and worked his butt off even more. Players, take Fred example. Be like Fred. Work your butt off and come into camp when you come into camp and be ready.
Let's get this deal done, or deals done, I should say, with BA and Trent Williams. The time is now. Let's go get that 6th Lombardi. We are 26 days away from week 1 against the Jets. Let's do this, faithful. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Thank you so much. You guys were awesome tonight, as always. And we'll see you next week, and go Niners.
Go Niners.
What the heck happened to that? What is going on tonight?
The outro is.
Let's try that again. We'll see you next
Wow.
weekend. Go Niners.
Bang, bang.
And of course, for the upstart 49ers, they're 6 yards away from Pontiac. 3rd and 3.
We'll see a pickup sometime